I think I did. There it
Perfect.
is. Sweet. So yeah, if you haven't met me before, I'm Jasper. I'm one of the co-founders of reVillager. I live in the Cowichan Valley in Vancouver Island, BC. I live in a small intentional community. Well, small is relative. I live in a community of about 42 people that I helped co-found and co-facilitate. And um, yeah, we're called the Shire. And yeah, if you want to intro yourself, your name, where you're coming from, and kind of where you are in the village journey, whether you're living in a community or you are kind of looking for one or you're just curious. Would love to just hear where you're at on your journey. So yeah, we can popcorn style. Abby, you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Abby. I've been involved in intentional community living for about 2, 3 years now. I learned about it about 6 or 7 years ago, and I've been fascinated ever since. So I'm currently in the process of moving out of the herding cats. I lived there for a full year, and now it's making more sense to live with my parents for a little bit and come support them. But definitely still very inspired by community, and definitely going to be looking for a new community in the future at some point, probably when I'm ready to like have a family and kids and stuff. But yeah, really enjoy being here. So
Abby. Nicole, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. My name's Nicole. I'm at a project for 3 months in upstate New York. It's called a bridge house, and this particular bridge house has a particular flavor to it. I've been involved in various forms of intentional community going back to a few decades to kind of looking for ways to weave village around myself when I was a single mom. And and also I where I'm coming from is more and more a context rather than a geographical place, more and more a context of radical responsibility of of becoming a Gaian human. And it seems to me that it's just inevitable that the more Gaian I become, the more I will live and help bring into existence Gaian eco villages and Gaian seeds of villages, which is what this bridge house is. It's a seed project for a Gaian eco village here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Carol, would you like to go?
Sure. I'm Carell Mel. I'm in Calgary, Alberta. So not too far from Abby at Herding Cats. I'm just really curious. I have community, but of course the community we have is we get together for ceremonies and rituals and other things like that. So we're not in a living situation, but something tells me maybe the future is going to change, where that probably is going to be more, oh, more, it's going to become more of that, I think.
Mm.
So I love community, and I like hearing about different ways of coming into community and what it has to offer, especially with our other initiative with the UFHD, which is
Mm.
the Universal Foundation for Holistic Design. And so this to me is like a holistic design, so to speak.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm just really curious to hear more about what it's about.
Sweet. Thanks for sharing. Jen, would you like to go?
Did you say me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm Jennifer. And my experience with community is in the Waldorf community for 20 years, where I really, you know, if you're familiar with it, it's such an insular community, and you learn so much about shared values and agreements, and you're often wearing a lot of hats and raising each other's kids. So you're doing a lot together. festivals and community, but you don't actually live together. So there's that extra piece now that I'm moving towards, because my partner has helped start an eco village on Vancouver Island, and I'm heading in that direction. Like, it'll still be a few years before I'm living there, but I'm getting more involved, and I'm so interested in the communication and the ways that the group actually learns to work together. And I feel deeply in my heart that we're here to learn that. And I think that the average attitude is that it's almost laughable. Like, it's so impossible for humans to learn to work together and live. What? Hello?
I think so.
Well, I don't know what just happened. Am I still?
Yeah,
Oh, there. I'm still there. I guess I just want to work towards proving that it is possible, and it's beautiful, and it's the way we're supposed to learn, like, to live together. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Gila, would you like to go?
I see at least two familiar faces, or three. I had a bit of a problem to come in the beginning, so apologies, I wasn't very focused until now. Could you repeat the question, please, Jasper?
Oh, just introducing yourself, where you're coming from, and where you're at in the village journey.
Right. So my name is Hila. I live in Vancouver now. I feel my family is community, and nowadays it's more so my soul family. And one of them is here on the call. Christina and I are a few of the co-founders of the Creative Conscious community in Vancouver. And it's been a fascinating journey, and it took different configurations and many challenges along the way. And, the story is still unfolding for that particular community. But I feel like my life is circles of interwoven communities. So there's a Creative Conscious community. There's my actually immediate family. Yes. There's my neighbors here in Vancouver Village, where I live. Other people in my life. So sometimes there overlaps. And I'm very happy to be going to Vancouver Island this weekend, and to be on the Earth Song Party Saturday evening. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you. Christina, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I was being a cherub, a beautiful naked child, so I left my left my video off. Just out of the shower, just out of the hot tub. So currently, my reality is I've been homeless a lot of my life, so I've been a community builder and a community seeker my entire life, I suppose. Not fitting into most family. So family is everywhere. I have community all over the world now. My favorite is Damanhur. I'd like to fathom any village or community I live in after the principles of Damanhur. I love their number one law. They only have 3. They're out of the jurisdiction of the rest of Italy. So it's like they're a country unto themselves. And that's what I would like to create, a PMA, private membership association. So their number one law is to see the other as greater than thyself. And you might think, oh, that sounds a little bit narcissistic or something, but it's actually to see the other as only God, and therefore you see yourself as only God. So you're putting everybody in that place of God. And I'm currently in Roberts Creek. Just created a fake bedroom with curtains instead of drywall at my friend's, who has 5 acres here. It's not community, but it was needed for sustainability. It's got 5 pads on 5 acres, 5 pads for RVs. So, but now that I'm here, it could transform into community because it happens wherever I am. Yeah, so I'm still seeking that which would serve me for my last wonderful chapters on this planet, and want to be warm half the year and in the great Northwest the other portion of the year. So glad to be here with you, Jasper. Nice to see you. Haven't seen you for eons.
No
And
doubt.
also, yeah, there's a few people here I know, but Gila and I have been, we're ready for another transition, I think, on our CCC. But it's been good, and it's been important, and it's been very foundational for people to have a support group in the last 3 years. And we started it in 2019, and I started the first Freedom Cell in British Columbia, which I'm super proud of. Also, just after around 2019, 2020, but it was the first cell, and now there's several. freedomcells.org, which is another way of creating community online and they have they have eight kind of guidelines that they abide by throughout, but you can create your own 8 or whatever. And they're
Oh, lost you.
You might have muted yourself, Christina.
Doesn't look like she's muted.
Oh, you just did now. We didn't catch the last bit of what you, if you wanted to share. Oh,
Oh, she's gone. Magic. Oh, she's back. Okay, well, we'll move on. Lisa, are you there?
I am. I'm driving right now. I'm just gonna pull over if that's okay. Yeah, just hold on a sec. Someone else can go if they want, if you've got
Sure.
more people, or am I the last?
Sure. Scott, do you want to go? We're just saying our names, where we're coming from, and where we're at in the village journey.
Oh, sure. My name's Scott Kelly. I'm a founder with Earthsong Eco Farm Inc. Undercover Village. We're a small community in Cedar. We started our village journey 4 years ago. I remember you calling up Jasper and saying, "Hey, we should probably hang out." And then he ended up at the Shire. And we founded this 34 acres in southern Nanaimo, and we've been at it, owning and stewarding the lands and setting up homes for people for 2 years now. We just had Christina Ireland come visit us a few weeks ago. It's lovely to see her. And yeah, we're doing the thing. We're, doing the heart circles and working out agreements. And we have a structure called a corporation, and we sell shares in the corporation. And as a director in the corporation, you have a legal fixed term right to occupy the land, provided you remain in good standing with the director board. And so that's our structure. Happy to be here.
Cool. Thanks, Scott. Lisa, are you pulled over now?
Yeah, I'm landed. Yeah. Thank you for your patience. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm really impressed with what everybody's doing. And this whole journey is really quite new to me. I don't have nearly the amount of experience that everybody else has, but I definitely have a longing and a yearning to live in community. And I'm just learning everything I possibly can. I'm currently living in North Vancouver here with my children, and I'm just doing whatever I can to create a community. But I could really relate to someone who spoke earlier. I can't remember your name. I'm sorry. That that we have multiple communities, and I'm recognizing that even though the community that I have built here at my own home to support my children and myself and our animals is different than the other communities that I have that support my healing. And I really appreciate the person that spoke to that, because I'm recognizing that we can have multiple communities that we contribute to, that we benefit from, and I just love that. I also really am curious about the Gaia community that someone spoke about, and learning more about that, and the communities that are I see a lot of communities forming on Vancouver Island, which is super and awesome. I'm just not sure that that's where I belong. So I'm interested in learning more about the communities that are forming in Alberta and what those look like. But yeah, it's all learning. It's all about learning. I guess I'm like a matriarch and a elder. I'm yeah, and so I'm trying to like bring in a lot of that sort of natural law into whatever community I like, into my own community that I've created, but also to a community that I eventually move to. That's important to me as well, just natural law and trying to live outside of the matrix and the system as much as I possibly can. But anyway, I took up enough time. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
And Maike, is that how you pronounce your name? Sorry if I totally got it wrong.
Yeah, no, that's quite perfect actually. It's a Dutch name. I'm from Holland.
Oh, awesome.
So, oh, completely. So that's why it's dark outside here. So I'm from Holland, and I really enjoy your app. I just downloaded it 2 days ago. It's really freaking awesome for everything that we're doing right now. We live inside a forest. We have the possibility to start our community here, and it's been a pretty amazing ride so far. We're quite new in doing this. So until now, we've been just, I think everyone does it in the beginning, following the flow and just doing what feels good. And but right now we're at the point that we need to put structural things on paper and make agreements, like you said. Yeah, and I think I find it difficult to be in horizontal mode with everyone who wants to jump in, but at the same time seeing that people jump in but jump out again, so they're with one foot in and with one foot out. And I noticed that it's easier than to go in the vertical position. So I find that quite difficult, how to be in a horizontal relationship with people who are not completely 100% in. So just trying to figure that out. So I'm really happy that I can learn from you guys, and enjoy the ride in the same time. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Awesome. So that's everybody. Welcome again to this community call. Just from those intros, like there's so many little nuggets that I want to talk about that have nothing to do with what this call is about. But there's so much to Village. It's such a deep and vast web of possibility and experimentation. A lot of us, by nature have to experiment because we weren't given the manual, we weren't given the template. And there's deep grief for me in that we've come so far from Village when we lived with Village for hundreds of thousands of years, and just in the last few hundred years, at least in our culture, at least in my culture, something was severed, and now it feels like I'm reinventing the wheel, trying to figure out this Village thing. And so that's why these community calls, exist, and that's why reVillager exists, is to try and help this process of remembering, relearning, and just reconnecting with each other, so that we're not reinventing the wheel separately. We can do it together. And also find a way of eldership. I mean, there's people in here who have been at this far longer than me, and so that's amazing. Like, that's what I want, is to connect with people that have more experience, who are elders in this, so that we can learn from each other. So we've been doing a community call series on what we're calling the 5 pillars of Village, and we're about to actually launch an ebook that's kind of more about the 5 pillars. But the first call was foundations. It was about your purpose, your vision, your values, and your agreements. The second pillar was systems and structures. It was about governance, decision-making, accountability structures. The third was about social cohesion and communication and conflict resolution. And this one is the fourth. And this one we're calling rhythm and ritual. And so, they all kind of build on the one before, but at the same time, it's circular like all things. So everything kind of feeds into each other. And yeah, today's topic is really about how you create a sense of rhythm in your village and in your life, but specifically as a group, because what we've found in my community is that if there's not a rhythm to things, it is crazy draining to try and figure out schedules and figure out when things are happening and coordinate. There's just something around having the rhythm similar to the season, similar to nature, just knowing that, okay, Monday's here, this is our farm day. Wednesday's here, this is our, men's circle. Thursday's here, this is our sauna. Like there's something about having that rhythm that just kind of helps everybody get into group flow. And then there's also ritual. And ritual is a word that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. A lot of the communities that are out there right now are spiritual to some level. Some of them aren't, though. It's totally okay. You don't need to be spiritual to succeed in village. However, ritual doesn't have to be spiritual either. When we say ritual, we're talking about that thing that brings us together for a specific reason, for a specific purpose. So whether that be for a higher power, whether that be to acknowledge the land we live on as a conscious being, whether that be to, pray in a certain way, depending on our belief systems or religion or spirituality, or whether that be to get together and dance or do yoga or have heart share circles. There's just important rituals that need to happen. And that ties into rhythm, obviously, because you can have rituals that are connected to the seasons, connected to the solstices and equinoxes, or connected to other holy days that you're already connected to. So that's what today's topic is about, and I kind of wanted to get in real quick with just the idea that creating a sense of belonging and cohesion and continuity in the village, you need to provide spaces where people can connect. That's really important. It seems kind of obvious, but it's funny when you're in village how the logistics and to-dos and the physical tasks can take up such a priority that sometimes it's hard to find the space to just be with each other. So creating those containers, making a priority for it, and then having rituals that not only just act as kind of a rhythmic thing to bring people together, but also can be a marker of time. It can be a marker of a transition. I think of rites of passage, ceremonies. It can also provide spaces to really deepen the relationships. Together, they can create a shared identity and a culture for the community. And so rhythm and ritual, along with every other piece of community, kind of starts to craft the culture. And the culture is always going to be ever changing, but there is something interesting about, noticing the different cultural values and how that shows up in the rituals that communities decide to inhabit, decide to offer. Some communities even offer rituals to people outside of the community. And like was shared, there's multiple communities and there's these interlocking weaves of communities. So sometimes ritual is not just specific to one community, but it can be an offering to the wider community or communities. So, the community vision is going to be a big foundation for what are the rituals, what are the rhythms. Is this community based on making enough food for all of us to eat and then more to sell or to give? Is permaculture going to be one of the biggest rituals that you have and rhythms that you have in order to get this food forest going? Or are you more of like a healing retreat center space and your rituals are more around that? Or are you Buddhists and you're going to be ritualizing your meditations and coming together every morning for meditation? So, those can all be there. And then there's also developmental practices, ways of which we're developing the village itself. So it could be coming together for workshops, learning communication tools, learning permaculture, reflecting on existing traditions, skill building, skill sharing. So there's just like, there's so many ways in which we can come together. And I think we all know that it's such a beautiful and sometimes overwhelming spectrum of ways in which we can be together. And I'm curious to hear from anyone who wants to share, what have been the most impactful rituals and rhythms that have really worked for you in your village or in any community you've been a part of, that happened continually, or that if it just happened once was like a really powerful transitionary marker. But yeah, anyone who wants to jump in.
I can speak to that.
Mm-hmm.
So in my experience, being on the land with others, we've prioritized the Tuesdays is our sacred work days. And so what we'll do is plan our lives around that. And so if some people work, they go and work on other days. Tuesday is sacred to the community, and it's the glue that holds the community together. And how we choose to gather is in either gardening as the main priority. And if the gardening isn't happening, if there's something that comes up like a building project, then we shift. Typically Tuesdays is the garden day. That's our first priority, is moving towards sovereignty by eating together and providing sustenance and autonomy through growing our own food. So that's a priority. And then we have potluck dinner together every Tuesday night. And then we interchange the last part of the evening between either heart circles or games or directors meetings. And so we try to get most of our business done and our communing done in one day. And that often will spill over into a Wednesday project day. So people are encouraged, though it's not mandatory, they are encouraged to also be available for projects for a Wednesday. And then I'm also finding that some Saturdays, we're also gathering for certain projects. So like, seasonal. So now it's the wood cutting season. So on a Saturday, last Saturday, we had some new land share potential partners. So they came and actually helped us harvest the entire garden that day. And then we had a potluck. And then we had a little chit chat, around what it's like to live at Earthsong. So there's an example of some of our rituals. This coming Saturday, we're doing a Thanksgiving celebration, which includes a tour of the property, a swim at the lake, potluck dinner, a house concert with a professional musician, into DJ dancing, a cacao ceremony, and a drum circle. Packed evening. And some out of towners are going to, spend the night in camp, and then we're going to make breakfast for them in the morning, clean up the big house. And so, those are our rituals. I might be slipping some psilocybin into some of that cacao for some people. We're trying to keep it non-alcoholic in our gatherings. So one of our commitments is that, sovereignty includes non-addiction. And so for us, what that looks like is we're all committed to spiritual practice or individual spiritual practice. And then we get together and do things like kirtan or dance or, celebrating the season. So that's us. Happy to share.
Amazing. Sounds like a fun Thanksgiving.
It will be. You're very welcome to come. I think you're on the invite list.
Okay, sweet. Thanks. Yeah,
I can
else?
share.
Yeah.
So I had a retreat center, healing retreat center called Inner Sanctuary in Seychelles, also an acronym for the Temple of Isis. We tended to be more towards a lot of the feminine principles, I think. And so our rituals revolved a lot around seasonal changes like full moon, new moon. So we had consistent ceremonies in that regard. I became sustainable by hosting plant medicine ceremonies, but I found that just having a daily practice every day, whether whoever was there or nobody was there, there was always some daily morning.
You're cutting out, Christine.
Yeah, I could hear that last part.
Is she cutting out for all of you?
Yeah. Christina, we can't quite hear you at all. No, maybe she's gone. The great Zoom void. She might hop back on. Yeah, it looks like she just left. Does anyone else want to go while she's getting back on? Yeah, go for it, Jennifer.
Sorry. Yeah, my experience with community was having, like, we had to meet so much. So having, very clear set days each week for different committee type meetings meant that just got into your system, and you just embraced it, and it became a joyful thing. And also singing with the group, like on a regular basis, was so important, and it just developed like cohesion between the groups. Sometimes the meetings would end on a down note, like you'd be stressed and then you'd end with song no matter what. And even if you didn't feel like singing, you felt so much better after. And then the other piece we always did was ritual festivals that were tied to the season. So usually about 4 or 5 a year that just build up in your system. They mark the year. The children look so forward to it. It combines like all the beautiful elements of transition from season to season. And yeah, it always brought everybody together. So those were big elements for us.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Christina, would you like to? We kind of lost you in the last few moments, so you were sharing.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I think this was an important one, is that when we wanted something done on our property, like a full permaculture gardens, we created workshops. So we did a series of workshops. That became a win-win for everybody, for the community, for Delvin, got paid, for us that got the work done. And then we had a template for the rest of the community to come and check it out and whatnot. So we did medicine wheel and we did permaculture, and that was ongoing to get the foundational done. So a lot of workshops were around series. Luna was doing her ecstatic dance, when it was just coming out with Leola and Tara from Australia. So she did her practicum at Inner Sanctuary, which was every week a different chakra. That kept people coming, and then we went from like 8 people to 25 people, and cops coming for the heart chakra because that got loud. So we had a lot of, we had a really great spirit of that kind of, and I found those are rituals that are really important. But having consistency and frequency, like advertising, I have a degree in marketing, and it sort of works the same way, because people will then get, okay, this happens every Tuesday, this happens every Thursday. We also got into things like Velcro Ripper came and taught us how to do Tonglen meditation. So once we were on that, we were opened up the community. Every week we have Tonglen meditation, and we felt like we were healing the whole world when we were doing that kind of stuff. So it was advanced in those days, as far as I try anything that nobody had heard of. So we did everything from ayahuasca to Vipassana, but there was everything in between. Yeah. Thanks
for sharing. The workshops are great call. Yeah. Anyone else before we move on?
I can share a little bit.
Sure.
Listening to whoever shared on this right now, I realized that growing up in a place like Israel, which is a little bit, I was part of more so a Jewish cultural family, and the calendar itself, the Jewish calendar, have holidays, and they're all involved meals and coming together, breaking bread, singing, dancing, celebrating nature. There are some 3 major seasons that are about, the planting, and then winter appreciation, and then harvesting and summer festivals. So fascinating to kind of remember that I've already lived that. I never thought about it that way. Here in our creative conscious community, it was very beautiful on May 2020 when we were all under restrictions and mandates, we made a point to meet on a friend's farm once in 2 weeks. And Christina and I created a format that it was the morning, whoever wants to come to work is welcome. And then in the afternoon, it was a potluck and a ceremony or a workshop or a birthday celebration, and all involved sharing and chanting and sometimes focused conversations, depends if we wanted some tangible action items, outcome. So that 2020 from May to about September was a very powerful time in our creative conscious community, I believe. And I look forward to create more of those. Right now we're transforming into actually Vancouver Freedom Cell. So we're a hybrid, and we'll see where that'll go. Thank you guys for
Yeah,
listening.
sure. Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard, there's this mix of the rituals and rhythms in which things need to get done on the land or in the community. And depending on what kind of setting you're in, that can be a lot of land stewardship, which is its own full-time job. It can be growing food. It could be financial and governance systems within the community that you have to meet for regularly and make sure that you're staying on top of tasks and accountabilities and such. It's just a lot of responsibility just to be, in a functioning community as it is. And then there's the kind of developmental on a personal level and a relational level aspects where you're meeting for heart circles, you're meeting for conflict resolution, you are meeting, for meditation, you're doing ceremonies, and all of that obviously does wonders for bringing the community together. But also what I heard from people was that they do things that were celebrations. You were just speaking to the Jewish culture, and I grew up sort of in a lot of Jewish cultural experiences as well down in Los Angeles. And yeah, there's something around the fact that if you look at other cultures and just cultures throughout time, a lot of their time was spent celebrating, at least having those moments to acknowledge that, they're alive, that life is a miracle, that they have food at all, the harvest celebrations, and which is, Thanksgiving. And also just moments for the community, whether that be a marriage or, a child being born or a child becoming a man. Like there's just so many reasons to celebrate. You go to places like, for me, I've spent a lot of time in Bali, and it's like every day there's something they're celebrating. Every day there's some god that's doing something amazing, or some person in the village who's doing something special, and they're always celebrating. And they have ritual, very like ceremonial ritual connected to that. But one thing that I notice that can often be overlooked, because when you get into community, it can get really heavy with the amount of heavy lifting and responsibilities and checking in and meetings. I know for myself, we've all in our community, we've all had moments of being like, I can't do any more meetings, like too many meetings, too many things to figure out. And what often for us was getting left towards the end was celebrating, and even more influential of that, or pivotal, is play. And when we first started this community, quite a few of us are clowns. So one of our favorite rituals was to come together in characters for theme parties or theme potlucks. And we would dress up in this theme, and we would come as a character, and we'd be in that character the whole night. And then we'd just play with each other. And it was just playing. It was just like being kids. But really, for us, it was very connective. And I feel like that's something that kind of sometimes gets left out, is how connective play is, and celebration as well, and how those go together. And that can be, at your meals, that can be doing activities like games, musical jams, dance jams, really anything that brings you joy and is worth celebrating. It can also be sacred spaces, playful traditions. And another thing that also doesn't get talked about enough, in my experience, is kids. Like kids are at the center of the village in pretty much every Indigenous culture I've ever interacted with. And in a lot of these communities that I've interacted with, kids are there, but it doesn't feel like they're the center. And I know there are communities where they are, but sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, the kids are what this is all about. Like, this whole community idea is about bringing this into the next generation for our kids, and kids are all about the play, and so bringing that essence of play and also centering the kids, it's like, how do we foster that connection for them? How do we connect more with the kids? So I'll stop there. But yeah, it's something that's really deep for me. It's like one of my favorite topics in the whole book that we wrote was play, because yeah, I just thrive on play and notice how my energy changes when I'm bogged down by life and I'm not playing. I'm not letting myself play, and I have kids, so I notice how it's hard for me to connect with them when I'm not in a playful space. So I'm just curious to open up again, like what has been helpful and impactful for you in community to kind of open up that connection of celebration and play, and how that's maybe related to your rituals or related to your rhythms.
I could share if you like.
Yeah.
Because I am kind of the play maestro at Earthsong. You might call me the event coordinator. You might call me the dancing dragon. But we all need a role to play in community, and making sure that fun is there is my job. So, I'm basically in charge of this event this weekend. Actually, I have an event production company, which we hosted reVillager at recently, and it was beautifully successful. And I use that community hall as a resource in order to introduce people to the concept of revillaging. And our goal is to feed them, is to show them a good time, and when their hearts are open, we can instill the message. And people can get this felt sense of what it is like to be in village, to be seen, to be acknowledged for one's gifts, and to celebrate, and to be given permission to just let down the guard and feel safe enough to fully express. And so that's always my goal, is to create a held container where people can relate and build relationships. And it really is the glue. It's the glue to revillaging. It's the secret ingredient in the pot. And we call this organization Central Hearth. And so, back to every community needs a hearth, a place where no matter what you're doing in your individual lives or where you're on the land, even if you're a hermit, you can come on a certain day and partake in the ritual of eating food together, or a meditation practice, or singing together, or, we just talked about 50 different ways we can do it. But the important thing is that there's an opportunity for shared practice and joy and connection, and also some free space for people to just be and to have their individual conversations. So that's what I'd like to share.
Thank you.
I can share a little bit about my community. So recently, actually, just last Thursday, we elected a event coordinator for a similar reason, more so to coordinate the use of our community space, because we have like a garage we've kind of renovated, and now it's available for like workshops and men's circles and whatnot. Sometimes residents want to host something, or sometimes someone exterior to the community wants to host something. So just having somebody to kind of coordinate that. But the person that we elected his name is Skinny Circus. So he has his own business doing circus. And so often he's in the backyard anyways, fire spinning and juggling and riding his unicycle. And it was interesting when he moved in, because like I'm a bit of an introvert, my partner's an introvert. The 2 new roommates we got were also introverts. So we're all kind of just used to doing our own thing. And, it can be challenging sometimes to kind of initiate when none of us have that way naturally. So it was nice having Skinny around, because automatically, he's telling stories and making people laugh, and doing, stuff with his hoops and stuff, and teaching other people how to, do the staff and stuff. So just having somebody who's just naturally in that energetic really helps to balance the rest of us, because, we all have skill sets, and, mine's not really being the life of the party. I like to organize the party and make sure that things happen on time, but the life of it usually will come from someone else. So I like how in our community, like we have, it's important to have a good balance of those types of people, and, you know, not too much of anything, but just to kind of, and it brings that out in me as well, to have somebody who's naturally gravitated towards that. I'm just seeing how much the community kind of, like we had a resident circle meeting, and it's more of a like governance thing, so it might be boring, but their skinny is like cracking jokes and laughing and keeping things fun and interesting. And I just see how much that nourishes people, because yeah, sometimes intentional community can feel a little bit like, oh, like so many meetings and so many notes and, you know, so many logistical things to figure out. But to kind of bring that fun and play into like all aspects of life, yeah, really serves everybody and helps make community something that, you know, people are drawn to and nourished by versus depleted by and yeah, overwhelmed. So yeah, I'd like to share that.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say I really like that on both those shares, there's like a designated role in the community that is like making the play happen. That's awesome. Like I don't think we have that, and maybe we should. Because yeah, like I said, sometimes it's like, even though a lot of us are playful, it's just like having someone who's like, okay, this is my purpose in this community is to make sure people have fun. That's great. I could see myself being in that role.
I want to share some things about where I've been, what I've been experimenting with, and like I love all the examples of like we do this and it works, and we do this and it works, and I just love that. And there's this also this, like the question of like what kind of ritual do you bring in, how do you create community cohesion and glue. And one of the things that I've been kind of being with is like what gets in the way of that, like what gets in the way of every meal being ritual, every time you go feed the chickens, like it could be sacred, and what gets in the way of a logistics conversation even being like high level fun, because you know, and some of the experimenting that I've been involved in and that I've been hearing about from other bridge house spaces and other Gaia Village spaces has to do with kind of like getting a hold of the stuff that gets in the way and really applying something that works for that. And one of the things that are part of the communities that I'm part of and working with is there's always a dojo space that's about emotional healing processes, and there's ongoing work that everyone is up to that's about how do I dismantle the rigid structures in me, how do I get back the energetic parts of me that I, you know, way back in childhood or whatever, like took away, or and that this is ongoing teamwork that's happening, is to help each other spot when I have emotional reactivity. And it's no longer about the here and now. This isn't, I'm not with you actually. I'm hooked into some past thing, and to have a team where we have this one kind of part of technology where pulling this out of my pocket is a quick way of saying, I spotted you having an emotion. And it might be me, because I might be pulling that card out as a reaction also. And great, this is all good news. And that there's always the chance to say, what's really happening, find out succinctly what the doorway is, and then go and get the emotional healing process, whether it's someone in person who's holding the space, or if I'm going into the Zoom spaces where space holders are available. And then I come back to the team and I have this gold from this process, and I have this added insight, and then I can weave back into whatever is being created. And then another thing we've been having so much fun here. We have this experiment going on called something like 1,000 offers, like to make 1,000 offers in a week, where instead of talking about things and saying, what do you think about this? I'm thinking about that, to just make an offer. Like I propose that, you know, and I mean, it's crazy what's happened here in less than 3 weeks. A chicken coop got built, and there's chickens, and they laid their first egg, and talk about celebration. 4 people shared 1 egg, and it was like mighty. It was amazing. And And the other thing is that as these layers come out, because of these processes that are constantly happening, each person becomes a source of what they want. So if I want more fun, I source more fun. If I want a workshop to happen, I source it happening by making proposals and offers. And then it's like I go downstairs after calls because I miss the people. I want to find out, what did you do in this last hour? Like, you probably did something crazy legendary, and it's rolling, and it's so much fun. And it's so scary sometimes because I'm up against these parts of myself that are getting in the way of, the puzzle piece that I am, or more like the higher, like, what are those things that are like the holograph piece that I am, that when I clip in with somebody, we get the whole picture together and it's clearer. And when somebody else connects into that, the picture becomes even more clear. And yeah, it's so fun. I wanted you to know about that.
Thanks for sharing. That sounds really cool. Is the dojo spaces usually like is there always someone there, or is it just a space you can go to? Like sometimes people are there, sometimes people aren't there.
Yeah, I mean, there's in any given building that houses a bridge house, there's like, what are the available spaces for dojo? And it's like, okay, you can use my bedroom if nothing else is available and you need a place where you can close the door. Bedroom is available without notice. Like, just go use it. And usually when the question of like, who can hold space for me, where are we going to do it, is the quick logistic, and off we go. And really anywhere with something for people to catch their snot and their puke and their loud screams in, and their water, and something to write something down on, and probably a mattress, because you probably are going to need to get down there and do some thrashing at some point. It's like, yeah, set one up wherever it takes.
I love that a lot. There's I've been doing some rage work with my men's circle, and which is really good. Yeah. Always fun.
Yes, go.
Let out some rage, but it made me think. I was like, oh man, it'd be great to have like a padded room that can really like flail without worrying I'm going to break something. And then apparently there are these things called rage rooms that are coming out, where you can actually like go and they give you like glass that you can shatter, and like you can just do all of these things in a room. And I don't know if they're selling it as therapeutic or more of like an experience, but anyways, I was like, oh, that's great. I'm gonna go to a rage room.
I just want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
I'm so stoked to be here because I'm way out here in New York State right now, but I'm often in Calgary, and there's Calgarians here, and I'm often on the coast, and I'm going to be on the Sunshine Coast of BC. So I'm stoked to hear that, who was it, Christine's calling from Roberts Creek and has lived in Sechelt, because I'm going to be in probably Davis Bay or somewhere close to there for the next chapter, setting up a bridge house there. And I would so love for people from all of these different worlds to come and visit and weave in and create something with me, like whether it's an event at the local hall, or whether it's a workshop, or whether it's a training. I've been delivering conscious feelings work training, including Rage Club, Fear Club, and EHP Dojo space holding training. And so I'm stoked to be, yes, it is close by. I'm stoked to be like in those places. And we'll also be doing trips to Calgary and Edmonton also.
Awesome. Well, yeah, look forward to connecting in person. That'd be amazing. And yeah, a lot of us are close. Maybe not in Holland, but I'll be coming that way soon, I think.
Okay, I'm so curious where in Holland you are, because I have friends in Holland who are doing amazing work, and meeting you is so cool too.
Mikey, maybe you could text it. I actually have to wrap up the call because I got to get my kid from school. But I just want to wrap up. So one thing is I would love to keep these conversations going. Like the community calls are growing slowly but surely. We're getting different people, but also the same people and new people. So it's really great. Thank you for coming and taking time out of your days. And we have this Circle platform as a way to just stay in communication outside of this. We were originally trying to use our app. We're a tiny team, and to build an app that made sense for online communities just wasn't working. We tried really hard and it just wasn't working. It is in the roadmap that we'll have an online space that like we can all talk about things. But for now, we're using this Circle, the reVillager Collective. I think a lot of you are already on it. But that's a place where we can connect with each other because we're all there and we can start conversations. It's a platform that you can really use and make. We're facilitating it, but we're not in charge. Everyone can post and do what they want. There's also events coming up. There's going to be a course coming up. Ian McKenzie is running a course on revillaging in November. We're going to have our ebook out soon, next week. And that'll be through Circle as well. So I'd love to just keep the conversations alive. And our next community call is in 2 weeks. And we'll be talking about space and place, how we relate to the land we're on and the communities around us and the culture that we inhabit. So would love to
the same time and day?
Yes, Thursday, 2 weeks from now at 12 Pacific time. And they're all recorded and they're put on the Circle as well. So you can go check them out. They're also on our YouTube. Exciting stuff. Thank you so much
Hey.
for sharing all your voices and ideas and experiences.
May I ask a quick question, Jasper? What's the app someone was mentioning?
So that's reVillager. reVillager.
Oh, that is reVillager.
Yeah, it's
Revillager
so reVillager has
Collective,
an
but
app.
then, yeah, there's the app, which is separate, different app.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. reVillager is an app that we were developing. It's still beta, but it's basically made for communities that already exist to communicate with each other and do things together.
Awesome.
Whereas in terms of connecting all of the online people who are interested in this, we're using Circle, which is its own platform, but it's called the reVillager Collective. Yeah. So yeah, I hope to see you all soon. Thanks again for coming. And
Thank
have a wonderful
you.
day.
Thank you.
all.
Thanks so
Thanks
much.
for having us. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you.